Module 3, Text and Copywriting, within the framework of the project Digital Skills for Cultural and Creative Industries. Unit 1, Storytelling and the 3-Act Structure. Copywriting is more than just writing words. It's about using language as a tool for connection and persuasion. In this course, you'll learn to craft messages that immediately capture attention and create a sense of urgency. We'll explore the psychology of effective communication, the art of storytelling, and the strategies that turn a simple sentence into a powerful call to action. Whether you're looking to build a brand, boost sales, or simply communicate more effectively, the skills you'll gain here are foundational. You'll be able to apply them pretty much anywhere. Copywriting, after all, is the engine of modern communication, and mastering it will give you the ability to shape perceptions across a wide range of media and formats, from an Instagram post to a magazine article, to broadly appealing social agitprop, to even a grant proposal. The present course will cover 2 units, storytelling in the 3-act structure and copywriting and language. During our first lesson, we'll focus on approaching advertisement writing with a purpose and structure in mind, making the most out of the rhetorical situation we're placed in and the persuasive hooks we have at our disposal. For the second lesson, we will learn how to build a solid stylistic and grammatical base while using digital tools like linguistic corpus, anonymizers, and AI assistants in an effective and controlled manner. Without further ado, let's get started. Unit 1, Storytelling and the 3-act structure. Let's begin with unraveling the classic compositional structure that serves as the backbone for most stories told across history. On the most basic level, the 3-act structure can be broken down into 3 foundational acts: setup and call to action, where the protagonist is introduced and the first plot point is established; confrontation, or rising action, where the conflict is deepened and the stakes are fleshed out; and climax, or resolution, where the story reaches the peak of its tensions and unwinds into an aftermath. Now, the first thing to be said about the 3-act structure is that it's a tactic borrowed from creative writing and heavily used in novels, plays, and short stories. However, it absolutely echoes through the copywriting medium, and we cannot divorce the former from the latter. In fact, cognitive psychologist Roger Schenck and philosopher Ronald de Souza focus very closely on outlining the technical process of how stories are recognized, stored, and accessed within the human psyche. According to their complementary models, not only do our previous life experiences shape the way we understand fiction, but the stories themselves, when internalized, can alter our perception of reality. And isn't that exactly what we're here to do as copywriters? In other words, this means that the 3-act structure fundamentally resonates with something about the way humans interact with the world, with our emotional cadence. It instinctively appears natural to us and possesses the kind of symmetry that our brains just go wild for. We find it extremely appealing. And making things sound appealing? Well, that's exactly our job. Emotional cadence is the flow of emotion in a narrative structured in accordance with the motions of human effect. Although it naturally follows the traditional literary composition, there is no inherent necessity to structure the events in the simple cause-effect sequence, so long as the story provokes the emotional response it intends to. Sometimes omission of certain events from the narrative or concealment of full information from the audience can serve a dramatic purpose, as long as the overarching plot follows the composition. The most radical use of nonlinear storytelling I can name off the top of my head is probably Christopher Nolan's Memento, where they found a pretty clever way to toy with the viewer's perception of time. If we turn towards more classical examples, however, we'll find that Sophocles' Oedipus Rex is also a pretty solid example of nonlinear storytelling and dramatic omission. When you write advertising copy, however, you primarily draw on your discursive writing skills. Think analytical studies, compare and contrast pieces, and problem and solution essays. That hardly resembles creative writing, right? But it's precisely the inherent emotional cadence that ties the two together and makes the 3-act structure so timeless and relevant. Within the rhetorical situation that your copywriting puts you in, you have to be keenly attuned to your audience and anticipate their response. So building tension, driving conflict, and providing a grand and beautiful resolution for your writing is a must. Hitting these beats transforms a simple sales pitch into a compelling story that a customer can really see themselves in. If we transition away from literary examples and towards the persuasive advertisement practice, we can see how the 3-act structure can be easily superimposed onto copy. Our customer becomes our protagonist, and the story revolves around their realistically depicted problems. The setup and call to action this way becomes an identification of pain points or unfulfilled desires that they might be experiencing. The confrontation turns into tackling of the day-to-day problem, and your product presentation. Metaphorically, your product is the hero in a cape that swoops in to save the protagonist from bleak reality. In the final act, you show the hero's transformation. The copy paints a picture of their desired outcome, the after state. The story concludes with a clear and confident call to action, telling the customer exactly what they need to do to achieve this glimmering resolution. The surgical precision is necessary to activate the reader's triggers. One of the greatest strengths a sales professional can have is expert understanding of the already mentioned pain points of their audience. The easiest way to visualize it is by remembering old TV marketing strategies. Remember a smiling, bright-faced salesperson that's selling some kind of gimmicky household appliance. They show despair-inducing monochrome footage of a homemaker struggling with grueling chores until the poor thing's life transforms when they turn to the product, be it a new blender, a better vacuum, or a stronger cleaning fluid. That's actually a top-tier example of juxtaposition in a marketing narrative. Be an emotional surgeon. Take a scalpel to their trigger and make them writhe for relief. And then, of course, swiftly provide it. We've also briefly mentioned creating a sense of urgency a while ago. Now, what's that actually about, and why does it even matter? The product description needs to light up all of the right areas of the brain that can push someone towards a purchase. This push needs to be powerful and immediate. As salespeople who write, not just writers that happen to be salespeople, we need to insert our words deep into someone's mind and heart. We can convince them that the purchase won't only alleviate their pains and solve their problems, but suddenly change their entire life. Much like an 18th century lover writing a passionate letter, we want to titillate the imagination and please the senses of our beloved with our epistolary work and clever, eye-catching design. When the customer thinks of our product, the goal is to make them feel desire, pleasure, yearning for safety and comfort. They'll need to have it, and they'll need it now. Nowadays, brands use all 5 senses to strengthen their position and anchor themselves in your mind. And that's pretty tough competition. They have sounds, visuals, fragrances, even textures at their disposal. Your task as a copywriter is to achieve the exact same result as sensory branding with nothing but words. That's where analyzing older examples of text-forward advertising come into play. You know, such a minimalist attitude comes in handy when you want to text that stands on its own, right? So let's go over some time-honored examples from classic copywriting agencies of the past. These pieces managed to create stories that propelled brands forward for decades to come. The first one up is this ad created by the legendary marketing veteran David Ogilvy for Reader's Digest magazine. It managed to score $10,000 in 1950s money in donation funds towards Ogilvy's alma mater. Raymond Rubicam, another beast of copywriting and advertising, called it a masterpiece. What's the reason it turned out this good then? Well, it's because Ogilvy had to put his own signature underneath the text. You can see it right there. Style-wise, this ad works so well because it masterfully employs the principle of long-form direct response copywriting. Rather than a quick slogan, Ogilvy wrote a whole personal essay that drew the reader in. The headline, Confessions of a Magazine Reader, creates an immediate sense of intimacy and recognition by referencing the name of Ogilvy's book, Confessions of an Advertising Man. By framing the copy as a personal report from a respected professional, the ad builds an intense amount of trust and credibility right from the get-go. The ad's recipe for success is its authenticity. It feels far less like a sales pitch and genuinely more like a sincere recommendation from a friend. This honest approach transcends trends, proving that having a real, genuine story will always be the most effective tool in a copywriter's kit. Now, this next one is written by William Bernbach, another key figure in American advertising. He had positioned the Volkswagen as a protest against Detroit cars, cultivating an air of rebellion around the Beetle. Tiny cars became punk. This drew in the nonconformist youth and boosted the sales to 500,000 cars per year. The slogan, "Think Small," is really counterintuitive and somewhat shocking, since the phrase normally has negative connotations. But the Beetle dares to use it. It chooses to keep everyone on their toes. Another Ogilvy classic that we have here is the Rolls-Royce ad that put the agency on the map and wrote their names into history pretty much. And just look at that. Short, good, normal copy, if you think of it, it covers all the basics, taking into account the pain points and desires of the intended audience, selling through both features and benefits, using strong calls to action, etc., etc., etc. And most of the time, normal copywriting produces results that are normal. This, however, it's not normal, it's outstanding. We can see that the elaborate text-heavy copywriting examples of the past rely very much on the three-act narrative. But what about the modern stuff? We have an ad here from 2024. Here, Ricola, a cough drops company, really drives in the annoying reality of having a persistent cough. The strategically placed cough in parentheses, in each ad, it changes the meaning of the sentence entirely if you look at it. For example, you look good, or we're having a baby. Underneath each ad, the tagline below reads, "Make sure good news sounds like good news." And the phrases above didn't really sound like it, right? This creates a personable and caring image that goes well for a medicine-adjacent brand and elicits a laugh from the reader along the way. They're really making their brand synonymous with relief. Now, there's a variety of tools that a copywriter could use to proofread, formulate thoughts, and polish texts, and we will absolutely talk about them in the second half of this module. Right now, however, I would like to focus on a tool that helps you research your audience and get a better grasp of what your customers want. It's SEMrush. SEMrush is an SEO, or search engine optimization tool, that allows you to tailor your text to precise search queries and show up higher in search results of your customers. You can use other devices such as Google Analytics or Google Keyword Planner to this end, but I personally prefer SEMrush because it offers more than 20 tools to use, and it's not sponsored by a major search engine. It's less likely to be biased. Right now, we're interested in keyword analysis, so let's go to Keyword Research and click on the Keyword Magic tool. This tool helps you find the best keyword opportunities for your website to rank high. You start with a keyword related to your niche. Let's, for example, go with office furniture. If you use a paid plan, by the way, you can also add your domain so the built-in AI tailors the results specifically to your brand. The intent column on the right helps you understand the likely goal of the person searching for this term. There are 4 different intents. Navigational, help me get to a website. Informational, give me more info on this topic. Commercial, help me inform my purchase decision. And transactional, help me make the purchase now. As you can see, most popular searches for office furniture are marked with either C or T, so most users want to either buy furniture now or learn more about what exactly to buy. Keyword difficulty further on the right, or KD, shows you how hard it would be for a website to rank organically in the Google's top 10 for a listed keyword. The higher the percentage, the harder it'll be to achieve high rankings. As for search content, we can see the general trend leans towards finding used and home furniture, so the majority of US-based users are interested in economy. And they're not likely to be large corporate clients, because large corporations don't want to set up home offices. We can take this bit of information as our primary attraction point or pain point and run away with it, do our copywriting from this, or we can customize the search results further to better reflect our products. And this can be done by adding more specific keywords to your search. So these have been some ways to tie your copywriting text to the natural emotional cadence. Puns, wordplay, flipping expectations, getting close and personal, those are all great tools to keep at your belt, but nothing can really compare with really knowing your audience, what makes them tick, what drives them, and what bothers them. Hopefully, now you have some ideas of your own to bring to your writing. Thank you so much for tuning into this lesson, and don't forget to try your hand at the writing tasks in the attached homework files. See you in Unit 2. Bye!